Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, my Native American shaman name. And as always, I greet you with the love and the honor and the blessings of the infinite creator. Regardless of your faith, regardless of your religion, regardless of where you are, these things that I discuss are pertinent to any religion and to all religions, and to all peoples who are trying to find their way in this spiritual world. Okay, that is one of my primary directives here with these videos is to help people understand how they may achieve their own shamanistic natures, how you all can achieve what you're seeking, regardless of what it is you may be seeking. Now, if you're on the dark side, this is obviously the wrong channel for you. Um, but all other things applied. If you're looking for a spiritual awareness, especially if you're on the light side of things, then hopefully these topics that I bring up to you will be of some service to you, will help bring understanding to you, and will somehow enlighten you in your own journey. So that's sort of my mission statement with that. And let me take a quick sip of coffee before I start into this. I greet you all with love and honor that you obviously deserve. Thank you very much for all of you who come and participate with me. Here's cheers to you. It's coffee. But anyway, let me the topics of discussion for this particular video is, a shaman's journey. Well, a shaman's journey starts with what's inside your core self. Now, on many of my videos, and most of my videos, I'm always talking about what is your core value. If your core value is of love and compassion, and you may do some idiotic, crappy things along the way, maybe get in a bar fight or something, but basically your internal integrity, which is part of the title of this particular video, is such that there you have a core value to where you don't really go out looking for fights. You may get into one, you may, but you're not out there trying to start a fight. Someone who has a core value of looking for to bully people and stuff, their core, it's not that they don't have a core value, but it's not near as prevalent as, okay, the meeker people, all right, the nerds. Now, I was in the nerd group. I used to wear a pocket protector everywhere I went. But I was a draftsman and I required different types of pencils and so forth and sizes of lead. But anyway, to the point though, I was in the nerd category when I was in high school, even though I played sports as much as my abilities would allow because of my severe my left leg being broken playing football at Tampa Catholic. But anyway, that's just a quick little thingy about that anyway. But to the part about trust. Now, if you've been a watcher of my channel for any length of time, you'll probably know that I have what I would call my Mother Mary messages or angel messages or my spirit guide connection, however you would like to look at it. And so with that, it's my connection to the higher spirit, to the higher realms. There are a lot of different ways of being able to explain it, whatever that it may be. But I connect to my higher self and to my what I consider my spirit guide or my guardian angel. And they point out things to me that need to be discussed. And so big issue these last 10 days or so, and I've been mulling this topic around. I've even described it in the tail end of some of my other videos, but it has to do with trust. And you say, well, Hawkeye, trust is important. Okay, well, let's start out with, for those folks who are on a spiritual journey, what does trust mean to you in that respect? Well, to trust someone, to believe in them, to believe what they're telling us is true. I've looked up several definitions of it, and they basically came up as, let me read one or two. Mostly, a trust has to do with having what mostly comes up is that it has to do with banking, or you set up a trust for a family or someone like that. So public trust, so forth like that. But It's a fidelity in that respect. Now, trust as defined at dictionary.com says reliance on the integrity, strength, ability, surety of a person or thing, confidence, trying to gain our client's trust, taking it on trust that our friend is telling the truth. So there are different, um, there's slight variations in that respect. But now, from a shaman's point of view, from a spiritualist point of view, if you're trying to seek Mother Nature, for example, then you have to trust that when you meditate with a tree and that you meditate with the intent to understand and receive the messages and the history from Mother Earth, that you have to trust your instincts in such a way that other people will claim that you're bug-eyed crazy, which a lot of folks. Um, Hello, Michelle. How are you? Pleased to see you this evening or this morning, wherever you may be in the world. And so, as a shaman, you have to learn how to trust. You have to learn how to trust yourself, and you have to trust in your shamanic teacher, if you will, or your guide, whoever is trying to show you what your core value is, why is it important. And so the trust comes in different layers. But first you have to trust that, okay, is this religious experience for me? What do I really want to do? Good evening, Eureka. Blessings to you. Chilly, Wisconsin. Oh, it's much warmer down here. It's like 40 degrees outside right now at about 8:25 in the evening here on the East Coast. So I know you're cold. I know folks from Minnesota and the Wisconsin area. I got family in Ohio, so snow there. That's why I live down here. People go, why don't you move back north? Oh, forget about it. It might be cold, but I don't have 2 foot of snow on the ground. I mean, would it be fun to play in the snow once in a while? Yeah, but nah, I'm sorry. And I'm far enough north out of Florida to where I still have a floor. The folks in Florida are freezing their tail off right now because it dropped below 60. I, Growing up in Tampa, I could say that because when it gets to 60 degrees, people were pulling out jackets and wool sweaters, and because 60 degrees is cold to them folk down there. But anyway, trying to stick with the topic though, of trust. So I've noticed in people who have been together, there was a friend of mine on a Facebook page that that's as far as I like to refer to things, but someone I've known for a long time who's been with someone for 7 years, seven being a magical number in itself. But during the 7 years that their mate never trusted her. And that I know by this particular person that, any kind of flings in a marital relationship would break her core value. And I've known that she's had a core value for many years, even though folks fluctuate around it. Basically, this person was, to helping other people and to her children and friends and neighbors and, trying to help out and be kind versus starting fights and getting in trouble. Anyway, 20 degrees in Tennessee. Holy crap, Eureka. Um, yeah, I have friends of mine that are up around Tullahoma, Tennessee, and up around Gatlinburg and Sevierville. That's where the friends that I know. And actually, I've got a niece that lives a little north of Sevierville, there in the Tennessee mountains. So, on the Tennessee side of the Appalachians. But anyway, yeah, cold as a bugger up yonder. It got into the upper 20s down here last night or this early this morning, but not quite frost on the ground, but almost. It's supposed to be the same about tonight, about 30 degrees. So for here, it's chilly, but it's not the worst it's ever been. But anyway, so staying with the trust, finding another person that you can honestly trust these days is really yucky. You know what I'm saying? You try to find someone that you can truly trust, and you give them a little something, and you hear it through the grapevine, and it comes back to you. Well, I heard such and such and such and such. Well, wait a minute, hang on. There's only one person I told that to. How come you know about it? Well, we all know about it. And what? Um, so rarefied, yes, is that what it says? Exactly. So, but one of the things that a lot of people these days, because of all the confusion and all the digital technology and the internet and so forth, it's hard to trust who you are, because oh well, if you don't wear this makeup, oh well, like me, why is my hair so long? Because I made a choice that when I got to a certain age that I just wasn't going to cut it anymore. And it has nothing to do with any kind of statement I'm making. It's just that as I was growing up as a hippie in the late 60s and 70s, everything was, if you're long haired, you're out of there. So and I just said, when I get old enough, I'm just going to let my hair grow, and I'll let it grow until I decide to cut it. But it's not that I'm trying to make any kind of particular statement. In fact, lately I've been like, man, this, it's getting along here. Um, but at the same time, it's neat in that, I can still make the choice whenever I want to. It's like Neil Young, and back in the day, I almost cut my hair. It happened just the other day. It increased my paranoia, like looking in a mirror and seeing a police car, you know. But I didn't, and I wonder why. But anyway, that's how the song goes, the lyrics anyway. But with that said, though, I have to trust in my own feelings, and with all the issues that I've had personally with my own demons inside that I've talked about in other videos. I had one of the things that I had to learn in myself on my shamanic journey is to trust in what I know in my gut is real, or what I know in my gut is the truth, because I've maybe lived through several falsehoods, or I've been with people who I trusted, and then through their lack of integrity, their lack of honesty, all of this is part of the title of this thing. They had lost their integrity, their honesty, and they weren't trustful in even with their own selves, because they knew that they were perpetuating a lie, or they broke my trust, or your trust, or you know what I mean. So with that said, we go from trust to distrust very quickly. And it's hard for folks who, like me, I trust anyone until you give me reason not to. But in my shamanic journey, I had to understand that I had to withhold a certain amount of my trust to another person until I could like engage them on a deeper level, until I knew this person more intimately, or more something. There's more substance to it, and that they could also prove that they could be trusted, that they were being honest with me. So honesty, oh my goodness, how many people are honest with one another? I mean, truly honest. Sometimes you make a statement to like get a reaction from someone, but in all honesty, are you trusting your own self to be able to even communicate some of these things? And is your integrity somehow involved with? Well, absolutely. It's part of your core value. So it's like everything that I put in the description of this video is absolutely valid for all human beings, regardless of whether or not you're on a shamanic journey or not. But to the point of my previous discussions about shamanic journeys, you have to have these core values, and trust is like it's in there. You have to trust the universe. You have to be honest with yourself. And when nature shows you that something is real, regardless of what other people may tell you, when you know in your gut this is true, I see it. Mother Nature has shown it to me. And I trust my shaman teacher. I trust my guardian angel. I have faith in what I've been shown. That one of the other big words in the title of this particular discussion. Coniferous forest. Hi there. For some reason, I thought the moon eclipse is yet to come. How was it, by the way? I was knocked out yesterday. I mean, every time I tried to get up to watch the moon last night, it was like, conk, Creator took me out yesterday. I mean, 24 hours. I mean, all I did was get up and go to the toilet to pee and get a little something to drink. And I was in La La Land again, which was rather horrible from my point of view. But I missed the whole damn thing from this reality anyway. But since you brought it up, last night yesterday was also a really big, we got hammered by a bunch of outside cosmic energies, and the Schumann resonance was very high yesterday. We're in a calm spot at the moment, but it was pretty much off the chart in a lot of ways yesterday during the full moon eclipse, etc. Just by the way, now I remember yesterday that every time I tried to become conscious, forgot to feed the chickens, for example. I mean, oh boy, that was weird. But I remember every time I woke up to go to the toilet, us old man got to pee on her every 2 or 3 hours. So, but every time I went, I had to go back down. My thought was always the same. I know I'm involved in the meditation, and I'm positive because I would lie down and say, okay, if I can't get up and go outside today, then I'm going to at least be a part of the meditation group. And so I would go into my mantra, my meditation is, and I was gone. 2, 3 hours later, wake back up, just repeat the same. Hey, Quartz, how are you? Blessings, my friend. I hope you're warm where you're at, by the way. Um, Glad y'all could come and hang out and chat amongst yourselves as well. Rarefied. That's all right. I read between the lines. I just went up a little bit, Miss Michelle, and noticed. I knew what you said the first time. I'm pretty dyslexic, so sometimes when people misspell things, I'm like, oh, I know what that word is. That this is what they meant, especially in context with the sentence. But anyway, how was it from your end, Quartz? I'm going to watch it tonight. I was out earlier before I started this video, but I got too many trees on the east side. I'm going to have to wait another hour before I can actually see the moon. But it was very bright last night, I can tell you that. Just in looking out my windows, it looked like a cloudy day, with the sun out kind of thing. So it was very interesting in that respect. I hope to go outside and play under the full moon tonight. As on the Adams family, I'm going to go out and see if I can get a moon tan. But old Adams family, black and white. Just saying. But so anyway, but back to the honesty and the faith and the integrity. Now, with all the things that are going on in this world, I skim through all kinds of channels and headlines and things to stay in touch with what's going on. And all of it's important in one way, shape, form, or the other. And one of the things I was just listening to this afternoon was a gentleman who, he looks at things with numbers in a way that I've not seen anyone else do. But one of the things that has been discussed and by myself and other people is Nikola Tesla and what Tesla understood. And something to bring up because this has to do with faith and the shamanic journey as well. You have to understand that the earth has ley lines, but there are channels within the earth. Now, this particular person admitted that they thought this ley line was above the earth. Well, it's actually in two places. Because it's in the earth, there is a faint kind of above the earth thing with ley lines, but it's not the same thing. It creates and because of all the chemtrails and things, it's not acting the way it's supposed to be acting. All right. I rewatch it later. It's the way too late here. I play chess, by the way. Please register at chess.com. Okay. All right. If I ever get the chance, Coniferous Forest, I most definitely would play chess. Yeah, you suck at chess. I'm learning my way around myself. Just first days, it is kind of dragging. Yep. When you understand that it's really strategy and sometimes how can you outfox your neighbor, I always like to do planned moves and then just throw in like move a pawn someplace and I go, what the hell did you do that for? And go, ha ha ha, ha, you don't know. And actually the only offense in it is that it surprised my opponent and they go, what? So it's just sometimes to watch their face, but anyway, Well, anyway, so going on with the subject here, um, honesty. So, if you're going to trust another person and if you're going to trust yourself, you have to find out whether or not the other person is being trustworthy, meaning that they're honest enough and that they have the integrity of their own core values for you to be able to trust them. Otherwise, you set off with distrust. And I've watched it in my 66 years, and in these last 10 or 15 years, more people are likely now to distrust someone they meet than to trust them. I mean, even on in a chat room or something like that. Well, unless you've hung out in the chat room before. But I mean, if you're like just joining, folks have a tendency to be distrustful before they're trustful. They have to find out, are you really an honest person? What is your integrity? What are your core values? Do you resonate with me in the frequency of the ley lines of the earth and of the universe? And so it's like, okay, so you have to trust on all these different levels, which means you must find integrity, honesty in these different levels of reality in order for you to trust it within yourself. So it's like, I used to do, I still play little mind games with myself, not near as much as I used to, but year 66, 46, July 17th. Mine is September 24th, 1952. Thus my DW null 52 at Gmail. But anyway, so over my many years, I learned to be distrustful. I was adopted out. I was in 6 foster homes in 3.5 years. I have had, you're 26, absolutely welcome. You're about the age of my granddaughters, which is a good age, which is good. July 17th, too. The number 17 is an interesting number being played right now, by the way, by the bad guys. Not saying you guys are, but that they're using the number 17 just as a curious observation on the side. But anyway, so if you find a shaman or a wisdom keeper or just an old person that's got a good deal of wisdom to share, sit down and listen. Especially one that's like, well, son, back in the day, the way we used to do it was like this. And blah 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 da 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 da. Anyway, so it's interesting. When I moved up here to South Georgia from Tampa, for example, I used to go sit with the old men that sat on the bench in the edge of the park and listen to them tell stories about how it used to be and how people acted and reacted to one another, how they treated one another. And sometimes, especially like I was sitting with these old black gentlemen, that there were white people treated them a lot differently. And I'm one of the few white people that could sit down with dang near any nationality and fit in. I'm like a chameleon in a way. But it's because I've always felt that it's because I was always honest and trustful and respect, especially. I don't care how old you are, but each person deserves a certain amount of respect. I always start my videos with, I greet you with the love and the honor of the respect that you deserve. And I honestly believe that, and the more that we treat each other with dignity, with each other, how do you want me to, how would you like to be treated? Well, with dignity and with honor and respect. Wouldn't you like to be trusted? Well, but there are some people like, hey, trust me. And then the first thing you do is chop that off. So it sets up a bad taste in our mouth. So, but as a shaman, you have to understand that even a liar can be trustful. They can be trustful in the lie that they tell. And it's up to the shaman or the spiritual, the wise person to be able to, I see through their eyes that there's something other than what they speak. As the red man would say, white men speak with forked tongue. That's what it means. Not, but not only white people spoke with forked tongue, but so did some of the natives, but not near the same way. Anyway, but so deceit, you know, if you can't trust the other person and say, well, then what do we do? Well, maybe you learn distrust because of something else. And this is one of the things that I want to bring up. It's one thing to trust somebody and say, well, I will trust you until I see otherwise. And that's how we all are, Make a fool out of me once, that, depending on what it is, all right, okay, let's try this again, but, fool me twice, shame on me, anyway, you get it. So should there be even a third time? If you want to be a true shaman, there's a fourth time and a fifth time and a sixth time. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be, beat up or that whatever it is, but any person who tries to be on a shamanic journey, but for whatever reason they are distrustful to you, or you have learned to distrust them with certain things, then it isn't that the person's bad, but they've learned something that needs fixing. Now, there are a lot of folks who distrust what I'm speaking when I speak about the things about Jesus. First thing I say is, I believe in the Christ. I believe he died for our sins, but I believe it is so much more than that and so much more than what the Bible says. But then when I start quoting or saying other things, they go, oh, well, you must be a heretic, because I don't believe in a particular church value as to what Jesus, who the Christ is, or Easter, Christmas. Let's discuss what the man did, what he taught, which is the core value of any shaman. Jesus was a shaman in his own right. Everyone who goes to church, who seeks to, quote, follow Jesus, is trying to be a shaman in various degrees, but to the point the church gets in the way. The church is what skews everything. If we were to follow our heart and trust in the word and what it makes us feel, not what the church tells us how we should feel, then in that respect, we are following a true mystic, a shaman, who there are many, Sister Helene, my Dominican nun at Tampa Catholic in 1970, told me that Jesus went and studied Buddhism and studied Eastern religions when he disappeared for so long and then came back. That's where he was. He was studying these other religions, but it came back, and he's going to come back into Jordan and say that he was talking to Buddha. No, but he's going to understand who his higher self is. And through his teachings, he tried to relate to his friends, his, where he grew up and all these kind of things, what he saw, but through through the traditions of the people around Jerusalem at the time, and through the Holy Land and everything. And so it's like, we have to understand that how was it back then? Do we consider that? We just trust in what we read it as today. Do we consider what's going on back then? Folks walked around in sandals all the time, and Jesus had a long robe, and we don't necessarily do that anymore. But to be Christ-like, does it mean we need to walk around in a toga with sandals? And no disrespect, but that's not what we do now. But there are other ways that we can use this. We have to trust in the core value of this. We have to have faith in what we learn in our hearts to be true, not what people are trying to sell us as the truth. Now, I've had several friends who have been Catholic for years, and who are now looking at the Vatican and stuff, and they distrust things that they've been taught. And I've been discussing this since, my pedophilia days back in the late 60s and early 70s. I've been bringing this topic up. Why would you go and put any money in a church, a Catholic church, basket thingy? If you do so, then you support pedophilia. And I have asked my Catholic friends that if you support pedophilia, then keep putting your money in the collection basket. If you wish pedophilia to stop, If you feel guilty about not going to church, the least you can do is withhold your money and tell the priest, I will give no more money to this parish church until you, um, you know, put the people who were the priests who were pedophile the children in this particular parish is brought to justice, that they're thrown out of the church, and that the Pope said, you're not getting another dime out of me. I'll come to mass, and I'll, because I believe that, my faith in Jesus says that. But what about your faith in the church? And so I still say, that if you wish to go to a Catholic church and you put money in anything, then you're supporting a pedophilia based society. And stop it. They'll cut it out if you quit giving them money. This whole thing can be fixed by you and me. I quit going to church and I started speaking about it. Other people have brought it up. It's like the Vatican ain't what they say they are. And these by people, ex-priests and nuns and so forth, who are speaking up about these things. So it's not just some graduate of Tampa Catholic in 1970, but it's the people that I've known, met, have been in contact with over the years on this shamanic journey. It's the people that I learned to have faith in because their integrity was so high that I couldn't pass up what they told me. And I had faith in my teacher, Sister Helene. And she told me, I asked her once, and I've said this in other videos. I said, why do you stay why are you still a nun? If you know all these other things, how come you're still a nun? And she said, because I made my vow to God, not to the church. And she stayed with the church because it was just easier to do. And she saw that she could make changes by being inside the group and setting people right when she could within her own little way. So she stayed within the system, but she told me, she said, quite frankly, she said, I made my vow to God, not to the church. And so with that said, like, whoa, that's a whole different dimension. But so I learned this in 1970. So, after all these years, this message has been in my mind. So as I look upon my own shaman journey, my shamanic journey, my spiritual journey, I keep this in my heart, core value. There's more to this story than we know. Do I need to know all the ins and outs and the ups and downs? Not necessarily. What I need to understand and trust is that they haven't told us all the truth. Not everything has been forthcoming. They haven't been honest with us. The Catholic secrets are secret. Why are they secret? Well, because. Why? You mean the Catholic Church? I mean, Jesus was forthcoming every time he asked somebody a question. He came out with a parable or something. Did Jesus say, well, there are secrets here. I'm not going to tell you about how to reach the Father. It's a secret. You got to join us to find out. I mean, this is just absurd, Wait, you have to have faith in something, but you're telling me that the only God of the Bible is one that's going to smote you with fire and brimstone, and that he is the God of wrath and destruction. If you ain't even going there. But to the point, though, it's like, but wait a minute, what about the Jesus thing? Just forget about what the apostle said. Let's just go with what Jesus, a shaman. Okay. Oh my God, he was a shaman. Yes, he was, because he followed the core traditions passed down by the ancients from 30, 40,000, 50,000 years ago. Caveman had it. They just didn't go around warring with each other on purpose. Usually they needed everybody else in the surrounding caves, because to take down a mastodon took more than one person. So it's like all this stuff. Well, they beat each other to death only when they had to. I don't think that, war didn't come in until somebody tried to be the chief of all lands, but it's like, and where did that come in? If we're all born equal and we're all taught to respect one another, it's when you can't trust your neighbor. They feel that they're not honest. You feel their integrity is invalid. There's whatever the distrust is. And so then it starts snowballing. It's like the Hatfields and McCoys. They years ago it started over a jilted lover or something, and this and that and the other thing. And then one happened, and they fought for a century, for God's sakes. And it's like, but hang on here. Let's pay attention. What pisses two people off today might not be the same thing as what happens a month from now or 2 years from now or 30 years from now or whatever point. But if we happen to hold a grudge, if we happen to not let go of that past, how can we make it in the future? How can we go forward if we can't let go of that past? And if the past involves, a grudge or a skirmish or something like that, that's even worse. But the simple fact that we distrust one another, how can we build the trust back? Folks don't talk about that. They always go, well, this person, I don't believe them. Well, then they told me the sun came up yesterday, and I don't believe that shit neither. Well, but the sun did come up. See, I don't know if they're lying or telling the truth. It's like, wait a minute here. I know that's absurd, but to some to some things back in the day, it was like, what? What about back in the day when the ancients said there's going to be a lunar eclipse, and the drunken caveman comes out after drinking some yak milk liquor, and he's drunk off his tootie and looks up at the moon and sees the darn thing turning dark to a blood moon. What do you think that old Neanderthal did? If he had britches, he would have crapped in them. But he couldn't get his whitey tidies in a bundle because he didn't wear them. But anyway, just a little slight Neanderthal humor there on my part as well. But anyway, with that said, though, do we pay attention to any of this? So when we meet someone, one of the first things you can say is, "Hi, greetings and peace be upon you. I wish to share my honesty and trust with you. Are you a person I can trust?" You go like, well, what the hell? What are they talking about? No, I mean, are you a trustworthy person? I mean, I am. I may hide the truth because I might make my own decision as a shaman, if you will. You're not ready to hear this info quite yet, but it's not that I will lie to you, but I will give you enough information for whatever your thinking is. And if I think you can handle more, then I'll take you down the rabbit hole, so to speak. But first things first. First, I have to gain your trust. First, I have to say, well, do you believe in the energy of Mother Earth? Well, I don't know. That sounds like a far-fetched. Well, then we can't go any further until you're comfortable with that thought. You have to trust in that yourself. You have to trust in me when I say the Earth has energies. Well, now scientifically, we can see the Schumann resonance. We can see it fluctuating on a 20, 30-minute basis kind of thing. You can keep up with it in real time almost. So it's like, so we know these things. So now they're proven, where before a shaman who spoke with Nikola Tesla and some of the gurus he spoke with, he referred to the fact that there was energy in the universe, and it was made up of frequencies and vibrations. And 100 years ago, Nikola Tesla was talking about the fact that everything that we speak, how I speak to you, my tone of voice, and I've practiced it many times over the years as a public speaker, but to the point, though, the inflection of certain words, how you say them, the order in which you say them. I'm always talking about trying to speak in the positive without using don't do this and can't do that. Stay away from things like that and speak more in the positive, right? You can talk about a negative thing, but in a positive way that doesn't deflect the mind. But unless you can understand some of these very simple core values, your shamanic journey, your spiritual journey is going to quit. Really, it's going to stop really fast, because you have to have faith that there is something else in this universe. There is something greater than just me and my soul on this planet. Is it malevolent or good, bad, going to beat me up? Am I going to be destroyed? I'm beginning to believe that yes, there are negative things out there, but unless you cogitate on them a while, if you stay in the light, they really can't bother you. They can't really affect you. And you can say, oh, but they're out. Yeah, well, okay, so there's out there. Now, I've been swimming in the Gulf of Mexico many times. I mean, I used to go sailboating all the time. So I've, been off the coast and things, had, sailboats, tip over and have to flip them back up, keep on sailing. Just, Anyway, and so been out in the ocean and seen sharks. I've been around porpoises, not dolphins, but porpoises, um, similar but not, and understood that they were around me when I was in the water by myself off the coast of Florida and the panhandle there. Um, that they swam around me and looked at me like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Holy cow!" I mean, I could have reached out and touched this one if they were so close. So in my shamanic journey, I've had the opportunity of having a pair of porpoise um, guide me so that I got back on my little sailboat and was off and running again. Then they swam off. My point to that is, every time I've been in the ocean, though, even though you could see sharks off of the pier kind of thing from Clearwater and some other piers. Anyway, um, you know, I've never seen a shark in the water. I've caught a few surfing, fishing, but to the point though, I'm not scared of the sharks eating me every time I go in the ocean. So I know that they're out there. So just like the universe, yeah, there are sharks in the universe. And you could say, well, they're evil entities. Or okay, they're out there. So unless you start focusing on them, if you want to say, okay, my one of my first realizations is there's yin and yang in the universe, and there's some in that shades of gray area. I still haven't watched the movie, don't know what it's about, but anyway, but I understand what being in that shade of gray area is. In that there are sometimes, for example, in Wiccan, there is the tendency that, well, I'm going to say, I'm going to burn a candle and say this little phrase here, if it's a spell or whatever it is, but it's going to be the vibration of my speech to the universe that I want this person I'm thinking about to fall in love with me. What? Hang on. That's kind of borderline on the dark side. Because if you wish for, in a true light session, you would say, I wish with this candle that my true love will come forth. And you could be thinking you hope it's this person. But if you were lighting a candle and saying something and wishing for a particular person to want to fall in love with you, or to, whatever your advances, it's out there. That's in that gray area, because you're kind of asking the dark side to sway something, because the good side will only allow more good to come. So if that person is meant for you, then your prayer with the candle should be that it would light the way of this person to come to you, if it's meant to be. So, versus using a little bit of different areas here, changing the frequency, and by changing the words. So your intent now is heading on the dark side, because you're trying to influence some way. And it's like, we don't want that. Now, if a person is being ham-hawed, I'm going to say a prayer to the creator that they would be cleared of this. And if this person is my true love, or has, whether or not it's true love, but wishes to be more affectionate in another way, allow us for it to happen naturally. Pray that they will, quit being a coward, if you will, and that they will step up and say and state their true feelings, that they will be honest with you, part of the title, and that they can trust you with their feelings. And like for me, I've had several wives, and my last wife, it's like I found out about 6 months, 9 months later, I get a phone call from Texas asking me about my ex-wife's ex-husband's ex. I mean, it was like, what? And I was like, holy cow. And I thought she took me for a ride. She did that to who? And there's a guy in prison because of her, and she skipped town and nobody can find. He's stuck in prison and can't get out, and they can't. What? Oh my God. So do I distrust women? Yeah, buddy. And, but am I going to distrust every woman that I meet? No. But am I going to share a bank account with them? No. Sorry. There's certain variations of trust. So in the shaman realm, I'm bringing this back around to what I started with 40 minutes ago. is that as a shaman, you have to learn discernment. You have to allow trust, because how can then they trust you? So you continuously to be honest with a distrustful person to gain their trust some more. So it's like if a person is distrustful of me, I can say, okay, all right, I caught you. There you go. I should distrust you because of what you just did. You know that, don't you? Well, yeah. So explain it to me why you felt that you had to tell me a lie, whatever it was to make you not trust them, and allow them to express it and say, "Now listen, I forgive you for that." Unless it's really crappy big and you're going to jail over the. I mean, there's some ways of trusting people. Like trust them as a person, but don't trust them with your bank account, kind of thing. But in this, there's a lot in between, but I think you understand that. But to the point is that, so if you're starting out with smaller things and you find out that the person, whatever gender or race, doesn't matter, look at the person. And what is your core value telling you? Is there something in this person that you resonate with? However, maybe they drink too much, or maybe they like, I don't know, whatever it might be. So it may be that you see it in them. And I have friends of mine that you would say, Hawkeye, you're friends with that person? They're like really not like what you kind of, yeah, but there's 30% in there that is valuable for me to have them as a friend. Not because of their value, but that there's 30% of their character I can get along with. They might want to, but I stay friends because maybe through my example of certain things and through my values, I can get their 30% to change on its own, for them just to see the light. Now, there have been times when I've told friends of mine, hey, listen, you were being an asshole right there, and that's not acceptable. You want to be a better human being, don't do that behavior. And yeah, I can be quite forward and whatever, especially when the situation arises. But at the same time, you don't have to try to beat somebody up. Well, you're a stupid mofo, blah, 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 blah. No, call them as it is. What, you are an asshole right there, buddy. And what you just said was inappropriate. And that's it. You don't have to go into calling names and a bunch of other stuff. Just say that was inappropriate, and don't call him an asshole. Say you were acting like an asshole. And I know you're better than that. You just called me. No, I didn't. I said you were acting like one. And if you want to continue this conversation, then you prove my point. What? You want to fight? No, I don't. Stop fighting here. I want to have this discussion. You think you're better than everybody else in this particular subject, and therefore, you're being an asshole. You just called me one. I did right then. Before I was saying you're acting like one. Now, because of your arguments with me, I'm calling you one. What? Yeah, now I'm going to call you one because now you're being a butthole about this. Stop it. Grow up. You're better than this. Be nice, please. That was rude. You didn't need to. Okay, you get my point. I went through this diatribe because there was a person in my past many years ago who would he would just do stuff that was just not necessary, but would create friction between people. And I actually think he just liked to watch people argue. And there are people like that, just like to see people fight. But with that said, so what do we do in this quote new age, this 2019? Well, one of the things I want to say is we need to start trusting in people in small ways. And we say, well, I don't know, that person really pisses me off. But we got to give them 10%. And you might say, well, wait a minute, hang on. There's a person who pisses me off, but you're saying, Hawkeye, we need to give, even though he's only 10% agreeing with me at best, you still want me to, I'm not saying you should be best buddies or no, I'm saying you should applaud them for that 10%. Wow, that was a good thing you did that. Everything else, blah, 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 they got drunk. But they come out with something else. Accentuate the positive. So if you say, wow, that was a really good thing you did, that's what, however you want to put it. pick a friend of mine years ago, and like, I see that you finally realized that drinking too much was a detriment to your own health and to others around you. And I'm thanking Creator that you have woken up on your own to realize how much of an alcoholic you were. Now it's a little long-winded, but there was a person like that. So I was trying to say, I'm glad you reached that on your own, and I support you from, thank you for yourself and for your friends. You're not an alcoholic anymore. You've cut your drinking in half, and now you're only socializes on the weekend. So whatever the point though, but to the point though, so maybe we don't cure somebody of something, but what if we just slow them down? What if we just appeal to that 10 or 15% and the rest of us makes us want to barf? You know what I'm saying? But to that 10%, can we get in? And how do we get in? What frequency do we speak at that 10%? So we have to trust in ourselves, have faith in our own Creator, have faith in our own belief in ourselves and of the universe, that 10% is actually worth working on. Now, I don't mean spend days on something, but there's somebody that you meet, maybe it's an acquaintance, and you're part of like, for example, when I was in with the theater group, there were certain people who were just snotty nosed to anybody who weren't of their social caliber. Then there were people, a doctor friend of mine, who was like, here, have a cigar, and he was from Brooklyn, for God's sakes, but I got dog. Anyway, but a doctor, and a reputable doctor, saved many people's life, a surgeon, and sit down and have a drink of scotch and smoke a cigar, and sit out by the pool and look at the stars, and it's like, but then there are other people who were like, owned a shoe stop or a shoe store, and they thought that their stuff didn't stink at all. Wow, I'm a business owner and I own it. It's like, anyway, but you get where I'm coming from with that. So there are snooty people in all levels of society. And what is your core value? How can you trust in other people? So even those people who were snooty to me, there was and sometimes it was only through theater, but I could get to these people through theater, through the productions that we did, inviting them in, having conversation, whatever. So even though there was only 10 or 15% of what me and this person would like agree upon in life and social standing, for example, I still had an impact because I stayed true to myself. I was always honest. I showed my integrity. And these people later on came back to me and said, you never wavered in that respect. We could always trust you. If you were going to be there to do a show, if we asked you to build a set, you always did. When you said you were going to do lights and sound, you always did. So they could trust me. I was honest when I did it, and I followed through with the most integrity of my own person that I could. So it established trust. So maybe that only 10 or 15% of their life, which was a lot of my life, but that they could trust me in that, which brought upon, well, he may not be of our social standing, but we still trust him. You're part of the group, but you're not. Kind of weird in there. But to the point, though, with your learning about being a shaman and any spiritual awareness, you have to understand that everybody has a value, even though when you might look at them at first, you distrust most of what you see. So in this quote, newer age that we're in right now, we've got to extend ourselves into these other areas. If it's just for a fleeting moment of something, to just give them a positive, hey, that's an attaboy. You did something good. You went and worked at the park and gave something to the whatever. Attaboy, for something else is like, maybe you shouldn't even comment at all. Don't support them. Clickbait, if you will. Give them a positive clickbait. So you can say, well, you know what? Every time Hawkeye or Dave, clicked a like and said, good going on your spiritual journey. It's like, whoa, maybe that's all I say. But I gave a thumbs up or a love, a sentiment emoticon. But the thing is that I sent back a positive thing. And so that I may not agree with anything else that they say or do, but I'm going to give them a positive. So I've interjected my positive into their world. So my vibrations, the things that I print, is not the same as you what you speak. But when people think it in their heads, it kind of sets up another vibration. But anyway, with that said, though, it sets up a more positive to the universe. So I would rather give a like to the things that I agree with and just forget about the stuff I don't. Thumbs down. Well, if it's really trashy, yeah, okay, a thumbs down. I don't like it. Or a sad sign or a teary thingy or whatever. But to the point, it's like, but I want to absolutely applaud the good behavior that fits in with this core value and encourage them in any way that every person's different. So I'm really talking in such general terms, but I got a couple of people in my brain that I'm thinking of that, I just kind of nudge them. That's all. If you try to, if I try to say something like, "Oh, give yourself to Lord Jesus and be baptized," they ain't going for that. But if I say, that the Great Spirit is it sounds like the Great Spirit has filled your heart with joy. Well, okay, that's kind of non-denominational in that the Great Spirit has, what? Wow, thank you. So these are positive things we say. These are different ways that we can say them, and different clickbaits, if you will. But as I've discussed in the title of this show, and hi Pamela, by the way, and Selwyn, I just noticed, gonna hunt down Switzerland flag matches on Amazon. Oh, he's not here anymore. Okay, hi Pamela. Much buffering tonight. I don't have any here on this end. But when there are things that are going on out there, we have to understand that everything that I put into the title of this program of trust. If there's no integrity, if there's no faith in the other person or what you believe in, if there's no honesty, then how can there be trust? These things are tied together, big time. If you have integrity, well, then people will trust you. If you're honest, then people will trust you, and you will have a higher integrity. So they're all tied together, and you can't have one without the other, kind of thing. But with that said, though, if in this 2019, this is my preaching thing, these are the areas we need to concentrate on. How do we affect a change for our future? How do we become better shamans in whatever spiritual road, standing, religion, whatever it is? How can we change our reality? By working on the 10% of people that we know around us, by emphasizing the positive and staying out of the negative comments, by expressing ourselves in ways like, well, I can say, you know what, that was your behavior yesterday really kind of, you know, turned me off, rather than saying you were an asshole yesterday. I mean, there's different ways of being able to call somebody out without cussing at them or whatever, because that's kind of a negative in itself. But sometimes somebody just needs to be called a butthole, because that's the only way they're going to understand it. But we must trust our own judgment and not just blurt things out. We must use our own integrity and be faithful within ourselves to say, yes, everything happens for a reason. But sometimes we can amplify the negative, And one of the things that I'm going to continue to speak on are the things that, well, this happened to me yesterday. Okay, that was yesterday. How's it doing now? Well, my back is sore. I fell off my bike when I was riding. Okay, fine, or whatever it might be. But to the point is like, yeah, but are you going to be afraid to ride your bicycle down that spot? Or, I mean, is it going to set up this thing? Well, every time I go by there, I'm going to feel like I fell out. So there are things, and the bike was just an example, but there are things in our life that, that hurt us on a day-to-day basis. And some things, I've discussed about some of my hurts that were years ago. And, it took me 40 years to dump out my bag of crap, because kept dragging it around with me, and it's like, I can't move forward if I'm dragging so much crap behind me. And so when we look at people who have allowed us to distrust them, they have done something to us that they weren't honest. Something happened. So our trust is misplaced with them. So should we throw the baby out with the bathwater? Well, that's a little bit strong, but should we give up on an individual? Now, I'm not saying try to make friends and try to drag them in, but can we do simple things when we meet them? When we do, yes, we can. And rather than think a negative thought about this person, think, well, this person went out and shot 3 deer and showed all the stuff, and I'm against deer hunting. And you can think, yeah, but depending on where the deer are, deer do need, the population does need thin on a, depending on the area. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. And is this person actually going to eat it with his family, or did he just kill the deer for the trophy? So there's discernment in there. And you can say, well, I don't like people who hunt. Well, okay, but is he a good person? He took the deer meat and he shared it with some poor family down the road. That happens around here, down here in the South. Not like it used to, but it used to. And people still do it. If they kill a deer or something, they'll give them part of the deer. And it's like, here you go. Or bring them after they take it to the local deer processing plant. They bring them some a deer hamburger back, which is excellent, I might add. But anyway, with that said, though, but do we get rid of the person because they shoot deer? If it's a trophy hunter, maybe we should give up. If it's somebody who literally is like some of these old country boys around here, I'm not going to say that they're not going to go out and shoot a deer or two. I mean, they do. They feed their family, and sometimes they share with me, and help me out through a dry spot. So wait a minute, is that bad? So I have to take some of these rednecks in that 15% and say, you guys are still, I'm on track with you guys. No, I don't hunt myself, but you can come down and use the deer stand in my backyard if you want, and you can share with me. I'll go for that. We can barter on this if you want. So, there are ways to do things. And do I just say, well, he's a redneck and he shoots deer and I don't like him? Anyway. So we need to look at other people and say, how can we make our influence known without being pushy? And that's simply by staying in the positive. If you refrain from negative, I stopped doing negative comments. Somebody really pissed me off or something. In Facebook and other places, like, wait a minute, but that's just stupid. And so now instead of doing it, I'll put a positive comment in there. I understand why you might feel like this, but have you done your homework? Here's the something, yada, yada, yada. So I might agree that I could see why you might feel this way, but you don't agree with it because of the following. And you don't call them names, but you start out with a positive. And that right off the bat surprises folks who are thinking in the negative. Oh, he's got a negative comment. Wait a minute, he just said hi to me, and instead of calling me a butthole. Oh, okay. So how we react to things will bring trust to us. Now, I know you might have thought, well, this is a convoluted way of getting at this, Hawkeye. But understand that what it is that even in that 10 or 15%, if we, I just jumped into there, the frequency thingy, if we allow 10 or 15%, and other people you can get along with more than that, but my point is that if we can influence these people simply by applauding their good behavior and leaving no comment or, staying neutral on the negative things that they do, or finding a positive way to disagree with them, is that they will trust us more. And you say, well, why does that? What difference does that make? Well, so much of the world now is built upon distrust. I listened to the speech from Trump the other day at the Pentagon, and he was like, we're going to put up missile defense because we don't trust them. So what's Putin and them doing? They're putting up missile defense. Why? Because they don't trust us or the other guy. There's no trust. So the trust in the world is absolutely gone nuclear, you see. Nuclear. But so we've got to start trusting in other people, even if it's just a little bit, because the more we start to share the trust, the more the distrust between people will go, you know what? That redneck down there says, well, you know what? We might have more in common than what you might believe, and which has happened. Well, I thought your long-haired hippiness, you were just a drug dealing, come to find out that the redneck was dealing crack cocaine and I was just dealing weed. But there's this, you find out later on about certain things, but it's like, but he's a redneck and I'm a hippie. Oh, okay. Cultural difference around here. But unless you get to my age, and then there are a lot of old toothless men with long hair and fishing caps, But anyway, I digress. Um, but the more we show trust to other people, even in small ways, it builds the trust of the planet. And we've got to start somewhere. So, maybe there's a newscaster out there, and I don't listen to much, but I'm like, okay, 10 or 20% of that, Tucker Carlson, I agreed with him. The rest was bullshit. Well, okay. Say thank you, if you got to make a comment, thank you, Tucker, for the positive comment you made about this. And just don't say anything about the other, because accentuating the positive then just brings trust to the world. It's just different. That Tucker Carlson thing was a really, really bad example. But you just take a look around in your own life. So to kind of wrap this, uh, you too, Melanie? Thank you, Bob. You remembered, Pamela. Thank you, Bob, to IA. Let's have a cup of coffee, Bob. I didn't forget, but I did, Pamela. I forgot to say hi, Bob, this evening. But anyway, I'm trying to stay on topic. I'm being a little flighty with this energy from the universe coming in. But so some of the things, like, for example, there are folks I probably right about now, they're going to be having conversations about Planet X again, about the magnetic pole switching, and the Earth is coming, to an end again. And here we go around the mulberry bush again. Monkey chase the weasel, I don't know whether it's clickbait or people's got to come up with some kind of excuse. But as I've said for a long time, and a lot of other people have said it too, but that Mother Earth is going through her own changes, and we're just fleas on her outside. And the magma's still flowing pretty good. Earthquakes along the Pacific Rim, especially on the west coast of the Americas, all the way down from Alaska down. We're having some heavy duty stuff coming in. And there was another, I don't know, 4 point something in the Caribbean, between middle Mexico and Cuba. A lot of activity around Haiti and Dominican Republic, and off that, a lot of earthquakes over there. So we have to trust in the spirit that, let's say, if the world does flip over upside down, are we ready spiritually? Now, we should worry more about whether or not we're ready spiritually rather than whether or not the event's going to happen. Because if enough people believe that the event could happen, it can happen. But if enough of us put our energies towards it ain't going to happen, then all we're going to do is get sloshed around. So let's focus on the positive. Regardless of what happens, we need to make our energies higher. So let's make sure that our own core values and our own core energy, we trust ourselves and in the universe. We start trusting in each other more. We start, we stop the distrust and say, well, I don't know if all that's true with you, but I'm going to trust you on this point. Okay, I can agree with you. But so as we started agreeing in different ways, we start solving the solutions. We start getting along better with one another. And we have got to do this. How are we going to fix the planet if we can't get along with each other? If we distrust the other guys so much that we can't even start a dialogue, how are we going to fix the planet? We've got to start trusting in small ways. As a shaman would say in starting out, trust in the small things, Hawkeye. Trust in the things that you can right now see, feel, and touch. And then allow your spirit to absorb these things until you feel it within your gut, until you feel it inside yourself, until that harmony resonates with you. So if we know that we can't trust somebody with certain things, then we trust them any other way that we can. We have to start somewhere. And if we just ignore the whole damn thing, well, it ain't gonna go away. We got to start putting our foot in the door and go, hang on, here's a positive, you know, let's stay, so our intent right now says, if we all choose, I choose to make this from now on forward, I wish to, accentuate the positive. I wish to continue to send truth and honesty. I continue to wish to show my integrity to other people so that they may trust me and my judgment or my conversation, whether you actually believe me or not. But I mean, you can at least sit down and trust to stay here in the chat with me and say, let's have this conversation. All discernment, you take these things that we discuss to yourselves to heart. But there are many people and many things that I don't trust anymore worth a squat. Now, does that mean I shut off all Catholics? No. Do I have anything to do with the Catholic Church? No. They're a bunch of, how I feel about that. But to the point, though, I'm going to talk to my fellow Catholics. I say I'm ex-Catholic, but being raised that, I can speak to them in ways that, hey, you know about this? Well, did you know that's actually witchcraft? They actually perform that during a black mass. Did you know that? What? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And did you know, do your homework. So, and that's what I'll say. I say, well, I've learned these facts and I learned them in here. And if you don't if you don't trust me, then here's where you should go look for homework. And I will tell people, look, if you've known me all these years and you've known on certain things that I don't lie about, then my integrity is such that when I ask you, trust me, I know about this. I'm speaking on all the experience, and I will give you every damned example, probably ad nauseum, to help you to understand that yes, I understand this, and here's the reason why. And that's why I'm asking you to trust me on this, because it works. The more we speak in the positive, the more positive things come. Does that mean every day is going to be rosy? No. Does that mean we might stub our toe and break our little toe tomorrow? Maybe. Could we trip on a curb? Yeah. I mean, the wind could blow over the book. We could fall in the snow. Stuff's going to happen to us. But if we're going to like mamby-pamby about every little detail, then you're going to have distrust for everything on the planet. Well, an evil entity made me fall down yesterday. Did it really, or did you just slip? Now, I'm not saying it, but to the point, though, there are some people who look for an excuse for everything. Oh, well, that must have been the spirit knocking me over in the snow. Or I'm like, oh, come on, get over it. You slipped. Now, but I know that I've been tripped before, so not saying that that's necessarily a lie. But there are people who obsess about these things, and they would obsess on the negative part. Ooh, something knocked me over. Ooh, and it must have been a jinn. And it's like, okay, something knocked me over. Just stop there. But I got up. Concentrate on the getting up part, not on the falling, Now, I talk about my life as an example, but these are all the places I fell down. But I'm trying to show you also, these are places where I got up. And I'm still standing up. I mean, I got a butt cramp right now that's about to scream me out of misery, And I'm going to make this video, I'm going to wrap this up. But I want you to all just consider in your own life the things that you trust. It may be that you don't trust your own senses. It may be that, maybe someone gave you a reason to not trust them. But maybe you should go back and revisit it. Maybe you should find out why. Maybe because everybody deserves a second, third, and fourth chance. If you thought that Jesus was the only one, if there'd have been 10 people hanging on a cross, he'd have said the same thing to all 10 of them instead of just 3. Are you a butt cramp? Ha ha ha. Yeah, I'm serious. I got my glutamus maximus on my right side. I'm having a butt cramp right there. Yeah, buddy. But so I know that all of us wish change, but very few people are actually giving, like, how do we do this? Well, start trusting a little bit in someone you didn't trust before, or maybe that was Yeah, I laugh my ass off too, and maybe the cramp would go away if I laugh my the cramp. Never mind. But to the point, though, we've got to start somewhere. And if we're on our own spiritual journey, I mean, some of the greatest shamans will say that you have to forgive even beyond them nailing me to a flipping cross. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. So as we're being nailed to the cross by somebody who's not being honest with us, we can say, well, I can choose not to be around this person. I can choose to, detract myself, and that's good. You should. But in other ways, should you cut that person off entirely, or could you still have a positive influence in their life? So I can't answer that. And there are some people that I know. It's like, yeah, I try to stay in their lives in minimal little ways. I always send them some kind of positive thing on a Facebook or a comment or something. So I'm always trying to continue being positive in lots of ways, and a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, rather than saying, "Oh, that was a crappy. You spent $500 on a pair of freaking shoes," or whatever the subject. But to the point. So, um, in my own discernment, there are people who think I'm absolutely too weird for their being able to hit the like button on Facebook, for example, because it might show that they did. Um, that there are folks who watch my videos on Facebook and family members and so forth, and they talk amongst themselves, but they don't hit the like button, which is interesting. It's okay, but they don't want to be associated with my craziness, even though they appreciate the videos. And I just find that I do. I find it hilarious. At first, it was like, what the fuck? They can't hit the like. And then I was like, wait a minute. They can't let everybody else know that they agree with me. That's okay. So where I thought nobody was paying attention, I received, through little bits of mail and a Christmas card. Thank you, Dave, for the Facebook videos you do. We like to sit around and listen to you. What's this we part? You're single. All your grandkids moved out. What? So who's this we business? You got a mouse in your pocket? But to the point, it's all positive, and I appreciate it. And I'm like, well, holy cow. So even in my own self, when I say, well, I don't know whether or not I'm having an effect on the world, I have to have enough faith and trust in the spirit that I have something someone will be able to listen to. Pamela, Michelle, Quartz, all you folks, all my friends on Facebook, and if you followed me, you've heard me say that I went into doing these videos kicking and screaming. Mother Mary's like, you're going to do this. I'm going to beat your rear end. And I got beat, kicked, and stomped on till I started doing these videos. And it's like, but, it's not that I know everything about what's going on, but I'm looking into different realities to try to bring things out. Why are things so messed up? Because we distrust everything. Well, I don't know if this app will work. There's only 1,000 people that hit like. Oh, I don't know if I should. I mean, I don't know if this flavor ice cream. Pick a topic, and there are topics now that really don't mean squat, and that we have arguments and we're distrustful of each other over. And somebody made a comment on Twitter, and they didn't like me or something. Oh my God, we've got to stop this petty nonsense. But the thing is that we first have to understand and trust in the basics of our shaman journey. Does this really matter? How does it affect me? What do I need to listen to? What do I need to discern out of this? What part of this is actually worth my time? And say, well, this it was a 30-minute video. Somebody had a tirade on a particular subject. At least now you know what they think about something. So you can say, well, maybe the subject I didn't like his comment, but now I know where he stands. And you can say, okay, that's a positive thing. Even though you don't agree with them, you know where the person stands. So you can say, well, I trust that person because they believe it this way. And that's where their belief system is. So it's not my belief system, but I trust they believe in what they say. I know that's odd, but you can trust them in their own world without agreeing to it. But you can say, well, I can tell by the information that you've just fun that you truly believe this. And I applaud you for it. But I think you're wrong here, 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 and here. And just, a little positive, here's the rest of the story. Um, you know, Paul, yeah, actually. So, but anyway, but if we're not forthcoming enough to want to start it ourselves, then we got to stop bitching about it. If I know there are people out there who are on this shaman journey, and one of the things that I said in my previous video on shamanism was, you got to want it. And even in that shamanlinks.net or something, whatever it was that I shared back then in that video, that was one of the most important things they said. If you're on this spiritual journey, you got to want it. If you're just going to church on Sunday and reading a chapter or two out of the Bible and you think that makes you holier than thou, then you're not on the same journey that many of the rest of us are. That's not to say you're not on a journey, but it's not the same thing, are you seriously willing to give up something? And really, if a shaman says, okay, we in order to learn this higher self, we're going to go out into a wilderness area, and you can't take anything with you. You can't take a phone. You can take paper. You can take a pencil, no ink, maybe, but it's basically pencil, paper, really basics. You're going to, regardless if it's thunderstorm or a million degrees outside, you're going to go do this thing for 2 days, regardless. And have the fortitude and the trust in yourself, the faith in Creator, and the integrity to pull it off. Would you do it? And so that's one. Some people would say, well, that's pretty extreme. Well, not if you believe these core values. If you're truly willing to be a shaman, then you are willing to try these things. Otherwise, I'm not saying don't talk to me, but if you're not willing to scrape your knees, then you're not going to learn how to roller skate on the sidewalk. If you think you're going to learn how to skateboard and not fall down, forget about it. So how many people get on a skateboard, fall down, tries to say that's it for me? They put knee pads on. Well, okay, so there's protection. There are things you can do to go into the wilderness that you'll have more than you require. And if you understand Creator and understand certain basics, you realize that you can walk in there with nothing and be protected if you understand it. But that's deeper on into the thing. But if you're not willing to try it, then how can you expect to even hope to understand what many of us who've been through many things understand? You can call me, well, I don't know, Hawkeye, you look like you're an old drug-egged hippie, blah, 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 blah. I'm 66 years old, but I've been beat to hell through nature and life itself, oh, my eyes sag. Well, I had a bad night. Oh, but you look like you're some drugged out, So I smoke a little bit of weed once in a while, and my biggest thing right now that I'm still trying to kick is tobacco. And it's like, but what? So people distrust simply from looking at my face on a video. Well, you must be a something when you've got no idea. So there are a lot of ways that we distrust with each other. Sometimes it's absolutely face value. And some people say, well, I don't know. I don't want to stop and listen to this toothless old hippie dude. What the hell's he got to say? Except for you. But the discernment and the understanding, and it's like trust. You guys have come and hang out with me because you've learned to trust me. You've learned that let's have a conversation, And your pop turned 60 this year. I got 8 years on him. 6 years. I'm sorry, 8. I don't know where I popped that one up, Quartz. But to the point, though, so I know you all will try, but there are things in this reality that, especially just, since Christmas time through here, the understandings and the downloads I'm getting from the angels and from my spirit guide has been kind of, they're like, let's talk about how we fix this. Let's stop complaining about it. We can still say, well, that pissed me off, but let's find a solution. Let's go for 30 in May. my daughter's birthday's in May. I can't remember the date at the moment, but I think it's around the 15th of May. I want to say around Mother's Day. Anyway, but to the point though. Um, so a lot of people on the shamanic journey have to have enough faith and trust in themselves once they learn a particular thing. Um, wait, I missed something, Pamela. You just said this talk is very timely. The latest talk is all about Earth's bifurcation. We are so far split, either side trusts the other. I love your take on it. Thank you, Pamela. And you don't feel 30. I don't feel 66 sometimes, except when I get these butt cramps. What you need is resources so that you can move out of assisted living and move into a place that is better suited for me. Yeah, I understand that point. Likes and dislikes are kind of overrated. What does it matter if a video has a million likes or not? Exactly, Quartz. And one of the things that I had to, I had to go into this thing. You very rarely, if ever, hear me say like and share this video. It happens. Somebody recently, just within the last week or so, joined, subscribed to the channel, and it was like their comment was, "I'm so glad I found your channel. You've got a different point of view on stuff." And I was like, "That's it. I have to rely on the universe." Now you can like and share if you want that, but to the point, I'm not like, well, share this video to all your friends. No, I ask you to have conversation with your friends and neighbors about this topic, but I never ask folks to share me because it needs to come from you. You're their friend, like you can share it with them and, but you get my drift. But there are folks out there who it's all got to be about this. And that's one of my beefs here recently. And a friend of mine brought it up, and I just, they're on this Planet X thing again. There's more asteroids and we're going through a thick place. Well, I knew in the 1990s, 92, 3, 4, 5, that we were going to go through a thick place in the galaxy in 20 or 30 years. We're here. So this is not a new subject. It's an old subject that's being repackaged over and over and over again. The thing about Planet X, I'm just going to give a little brief thing. The cosmic energies coming around our planet have nothing to do with Planet X or any other type of solar system. They're coming from beyond our own sun, and they're coming in huge waves, galactic waves, cosmic waves, not just from the sun. Okay. And so we can see these on the instruments. We know these things are coming in. And Planet X or not, this is what's affecting the Earth. Look at the Shaman residence. The magnetic North Pole, for example, has always been moving around. I bet you it fluctuates every single day because of the cosmic energy that's making the electromagnetical ball around the Earth to fluctuate. Could it flip polarity? The North Pole would be negative instead of positive? Sure, but what's that going to do to the Earth? The Earth's not going to flip upside down. It's not going to kill a bunch of us unless you're on an airplane and you're really your compass is trying to point north when now it's south. But any pilot worth his salt could still find an airport and can still land an airplane. So it would only, cause certain effects for a short time until things were, recalibrated. But to the point of this, we're all going to die crap. I am so sick of this, and some of these pastors are like, 3 years later, tomorrow's the rapture. Ooh, the blood moon. We're all going to ascend. We're all going to, would you stop it already? I've said for a long time that we all needed to go into the kiddie pool. None of us were going to jump ship and jump into this higher dimension. And there are folks out there, well, we're in the 5th dimension. No, we're not. If we were in the 5th dimension, we'd be crystalline beings. We'd be able to see everything flying around us in the ether worlds. There are so many things that we're barely into the 4th. We're just kicking off our slippers from the 3rd dimension and fixing to put on new socks and a pair of slippers to go into the 4th. But hamster wheel, thank you very much, Michelle. Yeah. Um, my dedication. Thank you, Michelle. I love you too. And I'm proud to know you, Pamela. Every one of you, I'm proud to know. And even though we've never met in public, I feel like you're my long lost friends, or lost friends. You get what I mean. But so our understanding of things, when we get into a certain mindset, I know myself, well, that just pisses me off. So every time I see it, it pisses me off. So if I make a conscious thought to myself, you know what? I don't want to be distrustful of people anymore. I'm going to trust them up to a point. Then something's going to set me off, and I'm just going to put my guard up. But what the thing is that you can allow someone in again, knowing that they were distrustful to you before and they weren't completely honest. So you go into it again with the information, go, well, I'm only going to trust you up to a point until we show you otherwise. Now, you may say that to them physically, or you may just think it. I'm going to allow trust, but I'm going to keep it superficial because I wish to let this person know, or people know, that I want to be a positive thing, even though I don't agree with all the points. I wish to still be a positive influence. I still wish to push a positive agenda. For example, I was in this theater group, and there were a bunch of hoity-toities in the theater group that had never built a set before, and had never set lights before, trying to tell those of us who had 20 years of experience in theater and radio and all these things that to what to do. So, but you have to just say, okay, let them chew their own foot off. So you go, well, okay, well, I got a solution to that. Yeah, but I want it like this. Well, you don't have enough room. But go ahead and try it, and then you let them fail. But you allow them, and you at times I've said, I'll help you with your project, but this is the reason why I think it's not going to work. And if we make this modification, we could do it. So there, but there are people who had never been in theater trying to tell me after 25 years how to build a freaking set. And I was building 2-3 sets a year. So over 25 years, I'd built 50 sets at least minimum. And some of them rather extravagant. So, but what I had to do instead of being pissed off with them, I had to let them to get to trust me. I knew they didn't know what they were talking about, because otherwise they wouldn't have said what they did, because they got these visions of grandeur. They didn't have experience. So being the experienced one, rather than say, you're a stupid asshole, you don't know what you're talking about, it's my way or the highway, I said, well, I can see where that would be really cool, but have you measured the distance of the stage? Well, I didn't tell them that they were wrong, but I just did because they said, have you measured the stage, for example? Well, no, but then before you go any further, you should go measure the stage. Make sure you have enough room. Oh, so instead of telling them they were wrong, I would say, go measure the stage. But to think it, go measure the stage. But think it, go measure, or go check this out. You want this to happen, but have you checked the height of the ceiling yet? Do you know where the lights are? Do you know where the light bars are? Do you know what a light bar is? Do you know what an instrument is up there? Do you know that if you make this thing too tall, the actors are going to hit their heads on the instruments? Well, can't I? Did you look at the ceiling? I mean, so there are different things in different ways. But with the theater, instead of just telling people, well, you're new at this and you know what the frick you're talking about, you bring them under your wing. You get them to trust you. And then they go, oh, then instead of saying, well, you know what? I think my idea is the best. Then they come by and they go, Mr. Dave, listen, let me run this by you. You've gained their trust by allowing them to make their own mistake, by allowing them to give a little bit of guidance, but allowing them to fail in their own respect without beating them up about it. And then say, look, I've got a solution to this, and let's try this instead. Oh, wow, I see what you're talking about now. I've had that happen so many times. It's like a director go, oh my God, I didn't realize what you were talking. It's okay. But rather than get into an argument right away, I learned to keep my big mouth shut. Even though I may have been in the right most of the times because I knew the stage in the building. But the thing is that I had to come off my own high horse to allow the other people to trust me. You got to start somewhere. So, butt cramps. So happy it's you. Someone says it has the highest things. Wait. Michelle, always wanted one. My mother said she'd flush it if I bought one. Your frequency is absolutely having a positive effect. Thank you, Pamela. Hamster teaches you to be soft and gentle. It's fragile for a reason. Yep. And someone has to say these things online out loud. So happy it's you. Laugh your butt cramps away. I've been trying to, Michelle, but being old and crotchety is having its toll on me. But anyway, I'm way past what I was going to do. But you know me, I always go long. Go long, Dave. But anyway, but I hope this has had some kind of influence to you and a positive attitude. Always, always, always. And I always send my love out to you. If I don't do a video every day or even once a week, know that you folks are still in my prayers. Always. You are. I mean, Pamela, Michelle, there are many of you, Quartz, and will I remember how old you are tomorrow? No, but that's okay. But the point of this is, regardless of our age or where we're from on this planet, we can learn to get along. You can put up with my ugly mug for an hour and 36 minutes. So, there's hope for the world. You're very welcome, Melanie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So my closing prayer, as always, I pray that each one of you, your friends, your family, your relatives, and all of your relations will accept and receive the healings from the universe, that you yourself will accept, receive, and accept the healings of the universe, the knowledge, and all of the wisdom. And I continually ask you to share it with your friends, your family, and all of your acquaintances and the folks that you meet in the chat rooms. Spread our positive thoughts. Spread this positive thing. Give people an option to how we can change the future, because unless we start changing it, it's never going to change. And we can have all the positive vibrations in the world, but if we keep them to ourselves, then no one knows. So peace out. Speak positively. I love you all. I love you all. I love you all. I do. And big cosmic hugs from Southwest Georgia. And y'all stay warm. I know it's chilly outside for me, and I'm going to fire up my old wood stove over here in a minute. So blessings to you, Quantum, Melanie, Michelle, Pamela, and anybody else who may be on. Blessings, you all. And until later, have a great evening and a morning and good night, wherever you may be. TTFN, ta